Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the final review of Jurassic World Chaos Theory. We have been granted early access to Season 4 of Jurassic World Chaos Theory thanks to DreamWorks Animations, and I have gone ahead and watched the entire season, so today we are giving you a spoiler-free, so no spoilers whatsoever, of the very final season of Jurassic World Chaos Theory Season 4. Now this video is going to be relatively different to the rest of my other videos. There is going to be no clips, no images whatsoever throughout this video, so pretty much it's an audio track if anything. That means you can watch this video whilst you're getting ready to go to school, getting ready to go to work, maybe even on your lunch break whilst you're sleeping, or just doing something else on the side, maybe even washing the dishes. Because obviously there's going to be a lot of copyright issues if I do showcase Season 4 quite early. But Season 4 releases in just 3 days by the time you're watching this, and again, as I said, we've gone ahead and watched it, so here is my first review. Just quickly make sure you're subscribed to the channel as we're aiming for 300,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and if you think this is a good review, go ahead and leave a like on the video. But without any more of my rambling, it's time to talk about Season 4. So let's start off with the good portions of this show. Well, one thing that I actually really appreciated, even though I really love Jurassic World Dominion, is the fact that Season 4 ends up making Dominion feel like it's actually a spin-off to this show, rather than the other way around. That's how in-depth their story is. For Season 4, whilst it's not as story-driven as Season 1 to 2 and then 2 to 3, but Season 4 feels as though that it has its own necessary story, and it feels more important than Jurassic World Dominion feels, which is very interesting, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Again, as context, I love Jurassic World Dominion, I really respect it, and I enjoy it so much. So for me to say that Season 4 feels like the main timeline and Dominion to feel like the spin-off, that's me saying something really good about this show, not something really bad about Dominion. The way that their story feels doesn't feel like it was so forced and pointless. It actually feels necessary to answering many questions in Jurassic World Dominion, whether that be big questions or very small questions. We'll get into that for a spoiler review someday, don't worry. But there are many things where you sit there and you watch like, now that makes sense. So not only have they adapted their own story, but they've also adapted their story to correlate with Jurassic World Dominion's story and answer some things that Dominion couldn't or didn't really have time to do so. And as I say every single season, the humour of this show is still there. The humour in Camp Cretaceous wasn't really great, it had maybe one or two bits and pieces where it got a chuckle out of me, but for Chaos Theory, every single season has actually had a decent amount of humour, and once again, specifically Darius, the humour is there in Season 4, and I really do appreciate that. And I don't mean like big, heavy, forced jokes, I mean it to do with the subtle minor jokes and the mannerisms of the characters, because some things that these people do, they're just so funny. But it is a dinosaur show, so let's talk about the dinosaur sequences. They were so badass, whether that's the carnivores or the herbivores, the dinosaur sequences were just amazing. I'm sure you guys kind of know how the story is going to flow with the timeline of Jurassic World Dominion, but again, I don't want to spoil for the sake of it, but you can imagine where certain scenes should happen, the dinosaur scenes happen really cool, because again, this is kind of like an alternate perspective of Jurassic World Dominion. The similar scenes are playing out, but you get it from a different perspective and you get to see how awesome these dinosaurs can interact with these characters and the rest of the Biosyn Valley. All of that just works down really well. And again, that just comes down to animation, because as I say in every single season, the animation has been absolutely exquisite once again in Season 4. It just feels like from Season 1 to Season 4, yes, it's the same show, but it progressively got better throughout as time went on, shall I say. And it's just so good to look at. Now, if we were to talk about the characters a little bit more, usually my favourite is either Ben or Darius. But this time, surprisingly, it was Kenji. Kenji's character arc throughout this whole season is phenomenal. And the fact that you kind of see him become a mother now that we have Smoothie, and especially since I've become a mother recently because of my cat Kobe, I kind of relate similar to how Kenji is looking after Smoothie the Ankylosaurus the same way I look after my cat, so maybe that's got something to do with it. But Kenji has been freaking awesome. It feels as though he has kind of moved Darius to a side just a little bit and become the main showcase character for Season 4. And I don't mean that in a bad way, no disrespect to the other characters whatsoever, because all of them were fantastic as well. But specifically Kenji stood out to me. He was just fantastic, and he was kind of taking the lead, let's say, for most of the show. And I don't think that's a spoiler because there's a lot more that happens, don't worry. But for the scenes that Kenji does take the lead for, it's amazing. Like, as a man, you can look up to him and feel like, okay, that's who I should be, you know? So it's really, really cool to see Kenji's character development throughout the show, which is fantastic. But now let's talk about a character that's not a human. Let's talk about the Giganotosaurus, Zeb specifically, and we are talking about the good side of things for Chaos Theory. Now, the Giga actually feels like a threat throughout Season 4. In Jurassic World Dominion, it didn't really feel like a threat at all, and that's kind of the issue that loads of people had with the Giganotosaurus in Dominion. But Season 4 definitely makes it feel like more of a threat, and yes, there are some very cliche moments where it shouldn't really happen, but it's expected from an animated show like this. But he feels very heavy, and he feels terrifying throughout the show. But again, we'll get into it later in the video. I am using the word feel quite a lot, but again, I'll explain later in the video. But yes, the Giganotosaurus feels like a threat. It feels heavier than before, feels fast, and feels terrifying. Overall, it came across a lot better in Season 4 of Chaos Theory than it did in Jurassic World Dominion. Now, as I'm sure you guys know, I love the lore of this franchise. The lore is, to me, the most important part of Jurassic. And that's why I love Jurassic World Dominion so much, because of how much it added into the lore. It is single-handedly the most lore-infused movie of the whole entire franchise, and that's fact. So how did Jurassic World Chaos Theory face up to that? Well, the new lore additions are very good. They slot into the timeline very, very nicely. They don't feel forced whatsoever, and it actually makes me think of a ton of brand new theories to explain things that I didn't even think about previously in the franchise. There are some sequences in there where you go back and you think, oh, that could connect to Fallen Kingdom. Oh, that explains that in Jurassic World Dominion. And they don't feel forced. And yes, they are just theories for the time being that I'm thinking of. The lore additions of Jurassic World Chaos Theory in Season 4 are that good that it makes you realize that there's a lot more in this universe and world than what we initially thought. And it's just so cool. And that also adds up to some very small, tiny individual stories, whether that be for dinosaurs or for the campers, that just interweaved, one of those words, you know what I mean. But they are just put into the timeline so seamlessly, and it explains a major story that happens later on. It's very hard to explain that without spoiling, but hopefully you understand it. But let's move on to the cuter aspects of this season. Of course, we have Smoothie, the Ankylosaurus, and if you thought he was adorable in Season 3, get ready for Season 4, because he is the cutest thing to come out of the franchise. Move over, Dolores. I don't think many people really cared about you unless it was pushed mainstream. Smoothie should be the go-to cute baby dinosaur of the franchise, because he is, I'm gonna say it, cuter than Bumpy. Way cuter than Bumpy. Genuinely, Smoothie is the most adorable thing I have ever seen. I'm a grown-ass 24, nearly 25-year-old man saying this, so it's taken a lot to do that, but Smoothie is so cute. And as I was saying about the timeline being interweaved into the main timeline of Jurassic, of course there are going to be references to the movie of Jurassic World Dominion. They're practically in the same vicinity at the same time, so it would be weird if they didn't reference some things. But the way that they went about referencing these specific things, they line up to the events of Jurassic World Dominion very well done, and they don't feel forced. Some of them are also very subtle. Again, I'm trying not to spoil, but something happens, and only if you've watched Jurassic World Dominion as much as I have, you might realize for yourselves. Don't worry, we'll do a full Easter egg breakdown to explain all of these. But yes, you actually start to realize that there's some obvious ones, some very, very obvious ones, but then there are also some where you're just like, you have to hear something and you're like, oh, that's the exact same thing that we hear in Jurassic World Dominion. That's the exact same thing we see in Dominion for literally 3 frames. And you're like, whoa, okay. And it again, as I said, it doesn't feel forced. It feels really, really good. And overall, Chaos Theory Season 4 is really, really good, but it's not perfect. So let's move on to the bad side of things. Now, when it comes to more of the story, this is where the bad side of things come into play for Chaos Theory. The story is good, but there are just way too many relationships going on in this friend group. At first, Sammy and Yasmina, for me personally, felt really forced to suddenly happen in Camp Cretaceous. And then we had Kenji and Brooklyn, which again I just thought was very, very forced. At the end of Camp Cretaceous, to me, it just seems like all of these are just really, really close friends. They didn't need to have non-platonic relationships with each other, but suddenly they did, and I just felt like you can't really see any of that happening. And if anything, it was mainly to do with Darius and Brooklyn. And then, of course, they go ahead and include Darius and Brooklyn in Chaos Theory, but then that causes issues in Season 4, and then there's also relationship issues with Ben and someone else, and I don't even know where to begin. It gets very confusing because there's just way too many relationships in Season 4, too many crossovers, whether that's platonic or non-platonic. It's just very hard to keep track of, and everyone just keeps getting upset for no reason, basically. So again, I just think there's way too many relationships going on, and it ended up causing very messy dialogue. Like, some things didn't really make too much sense, and then some things were just said for no reason. Like, they just lashed out, but they had no reason to lash out and say something of the sort. Too many relationships just caused for messy dialogue. Not only that, but some very selfish and lousy actions by some of the characters. I get it, you've got to have a little bit of drama in this show, but the way that the characters came across in Season 4 specifically, a lot of them just ended up being quite unlikable, and you just kind of sit there thinking, alright, get a grip of yourself, come on, you're an adult now, you're not a child stuck in the jungle of Isla Nublar, you need to suck it up. So yeah, too many relationships in the show, too many crossovers with the characters, it got a bit too messy for my liking. And as I said, again, the characters are the main things that kind of bring down Season 4 just a little bit, because the reactions of these characters are just very strange. They feel very forced. And it's not even just like reactions like how they would react to something, but this is in both their decisions and their facial reactions. The animation is fantastic, but some of the facial reactions to some things that people said, when you notice them off screen or just off to the camera a little bit, you start to think, why are they pulling that face? And I don't know. To me, I'm thinking they have no right to be upset with certain people for certain things, and then suddenly they're upset. And it just feels like they are teenagers again, and not in their 20s. Season 1, 2, 3, maybe besides Sammy, all of them felt very mature in their relationships with each other. But then suddenly, in Season 4, they all just kind of felt very lousy, and just, again, the relationship crossover, it was just too much for them. But if we were to move away from the characters right now, Season 4 feels very dragged out. I don't know how to explain this without spoiling, but most of this story could have just easily been skipped or finalized within 4 or 5 episodes rather than 9, especially the first few episodes. A lot of them feel like just filler episodes just for the sake of having a longer runtime. But yeah, a lot of this season just felt like it could have ended within 4 or 5 episodes. But again, slow burning things, I can understand why they went ahead with 9. But that's quite literally it of the bad side of things. Not much to complain about. Again, it's mainly just the characters. But there was one thing I do want to talk about. Now, this is the first ever in my reviews, but this is something I have mixed opinions and feelings on. And this is mainly to do with the Giganotosaurus. Now, leading up to Jurassic World Chaos Theory, it may have been our fault for hyping up the Giganotosaurus, expecting him to come back. But the Giganotosaurus didn't feel like he actually redeemed himself from Jurassic World Dominion. And it's very hard to explain this without spoiling, so do bear with me and, try to think about what I'm talking about here. But he also didn't feel useless like he did in Jurassic World Dominion. So he didn't feel redeemed, but he also didn't feel useless. But I also didn't feel let down by his appearance either. So simultaneously, he didn't feel redeemed and he didn't feel useless. That's like 2 ends of the scale, to be honest. But if we were to put that together, I also didn't feel let down by his appearance whatsoever either. Again, this is a spin-off show to Jurassic World Dominion, and the Giganotosaurus definitely feels better in Jurassic World Chaos Theory than Jurassic World Dominion, but again, it didn't have that redemption arc we were expecting from our previous videos and the way that community were discussing the potential of the Giganotosaurus in Season 4. But again, with all that being said, I must reiterate that I didn't feel let down by his appearance at the same time, so it's still really enjoyable. The best way to explain it without spoiling is that it felt like the Giganotosaurus' appearance in Season 4 was well managed, and it also wasn't directed or forced to be redeemed. It's like that wasn't his purpose. His purpose in Season 4 was not to be redeemed from Jurassic World Dominion, but to be his own dinosaur. And if you go into Season 4 not even knowing about Jurassic World Dominion or the Giganotosaurus' existence, you will have a good time with the Giganotosaurus and you will enjoy it. The way that it was written was specifically for this show and not to redeem himself from his awfulness in Jurassic World Dominion. So overall, with the good, with the bad, and with the mixed, we have an 8 out of 10 for Jurassic World Chaos Theory Season 4, which actually puts it down in second place behind Season 3 of Chaos Theory, which I did thoroughly enjoy as well. And I don't think this needs to be said because it's quite obvious, it is much better than Jurassic World Rebirth. So when it comes to dinosaur action on the big screen and the small screen of course, in 2025 we have Primitive War and Jurassic World Chaos Theory Season 4 taking the crown, and then we have Jurassic World Rebirth quite low down. But overall, I'm very, very glad with how Chaos Theory came to be. The whole show, the whole season is just fantastic, and it's so much better than Camp Cretaceous. I didn't expect it to be, but it really was, and I'm so thankful. Everyone at DreamWorks, thank you so much for being a part of this. Everyone at Universal that got to work on this as well, and Amblin, thank you so much. You've put together something really, really entertaining here, so enjoyable. And I know nothing is planned right now, but if any higher up or executive is watching this, I am begging you, we need something in that timeline between Jurassic World Dominion and Jurassic World Rebirth, and I hear that Scott Creamer has a few ideas, so please go ahead, produce something else, make a trilogy of animated things for the Jurassic franchise. It is so well deserved, and again, that timeline between Dominion and Rebirth just feels very, very messy with what Rebirth was able to do, so hopefully an animated show or even a live action show will be able to tie things together and make us understand a little bit better. But anyways guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed, go ahead and leave a like, and why not subscribe if you are brand new around here, because we will be posting more Jurassic World Chaos Theory content after the season releases, and of course we are currently posting a lot of Jurassic World Evolution 3 content. There's so much more to come for the rest of the year, and we have less than 2 months to go, and then 2026 will hopefully be an exciting year for Jurassic as well. But most importantly, make sure you're all staying safe out there, get excited for the 20th for this show to release, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye. Hey, did you enjoy the video? Well, why not leave a like and subscribe for more Jurassic content? I appreciate every single one of you for reaching this point into the video and supporting me this far. If you wish to support me even further, then feel free to head on down to the description where you can find links to donate, my Patreon, and you can also press that join button to become a member here on YouTube and gain access to some awesome emojis. A massive thank you to all of the YouTube members for this month, as well as the amazing fans over on Patreon too. Your extra bit of support really goes a long way. But for now, I wish you a great rest of your day.